It is November 1st, 2023, and I'm eating the first Christmas tree cake of the season.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now watching ToneyTV with Chris Toney.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ToneyTV. Thank you for tuning in. I'm always grateful for my fans, especially in Thanksgiving. I'm thankful, right? Thanksgiving month. It's not Thanksgiving yet, but I try to take the show up a notch, so I've got some new stuff. I got some comic sketches, sort of a three-part thing. Got a new segment called The Definitive Statement, where I try to make a definitive statement about something going on in society, or a question people may have about something. Got a word of encouragement, and then got some movie talk. And that's pretty much the show today. So stay tuned. I got some good stuff. Thank you again for tuning in. I love my viewers. Keep it locked right here. Let's get started.
Triplets Lane, Part 1, Introduction. A story of three men who were separated at birth, adopted into three different families who all had the same last name although they were not related. Chris Lane, an average 9-to-5 blue-collar working man who was raised by an African-American family. Chris Lane never saw another white person before in his life until his long-lost brothers showed up at his door. Now he's enthralled to have biological brothers. Tony Lane, a British information technology professional with a serious stick up his rear end. Rocco, a jovial ex-New York mobster. Stay tuned for Part 2.
Welcome to the portion of the show that I call the definitive statement. This is where I take an issue and I take a step back and try to look at it from a big picture angle and then make some kind of a definitive statement about what's going on. For instance, there's different types of statements you can make. You can't always make a definitive statement because sometimes, like some situations, there's always something that you don't know. You can say, well, based on what I know, this is what I think. But you might discover something else that changes the entire thing, gives it a new context. So for instance, for about a year and a half, I watched flat earth videos on YouTube. Because I'm trying to figure out what gives these people so much confidence. Some of the stuff they say makes sense. Why? Why does it make sense? Why do they have so much conviction about their beliefs? I just want to understand. And I also want to come to a conclusion. But the problem is there's all this stuff like, well, it's, if you think there's a conspiracy in NASA, that'd be a lot of people. That's true, but that doesn't disprove anything. There could be a really big conspiracy. Or, actually, you could have a conspiracy where the people at the very top aren't giving the full context to the people beneath them. So with them, they're not necessarily in on the conspiracy because they believe in it themselves. It could be that they're being manipulated. It could be any number of things. But I tell people I'm from the smoking gun department. So I like to try to find that piece of information that just shuts it down. The smoking gun, the thing that you cannot deny. And after a year and a half, I finally figured it out. They say that if you go to the North Pole and the South Pole, that the stars rotate opposite directions. And I've seen video that claims to show that. Now, I haven't been to the North and the South Pole, but if that's true, you would have a really hard time explaining that. One YouTube user named Jeranism, no disrespect, but Jeranism made the attempt to explain that. He said, well, maybe it's the distortion because you're seeing the edge of the dome, but it wouldn't look like a uniform rotation if you were seeing like the distorted edge of the dome. It just wouldn't look that way. So as of right now, assuming that the stars rotate opposite directions at each end of the globe, it's been debunked. Like, thoroughly. Like, you can't argue that. Your next step, if you want to continue to believe that way, is to explain that away or disprove the claim that there's opposite rotation. I mean, you'd have to, that's all that's left. And that's what I mean by, I can't definitively say the Earth is a globe from my own perspective, because I haven't seen it. But I can definitively say, if it's true that the stars rotate opposite directions, the Earth is most likely a globe. So, another one would be like, are Star Wars fans toxic? And if you look at, people just in the last 10 years, or even the last 20 years, and you see how when George Lucas went and changed a bunch of stuff, that all the fans got mad. And then when Disney got a hold of it and started changing even more stuff, the fans got even more mad. And it would be easy to say, like, man, these people are crazy. No matter what you do, they're just mad. And then the political narrative comes out. They're a bunch of phobic, either misogynist and racist, and they just don't like being inclusive, and they're just toxic fans. But if you take a big picture view, and go back to the 1980s, 1988, there was a show called The War of the Worlds television series. I loved this show as a kid. I absolutely loved this show. I still like to revisit it once in a while. This would be a Thanksgiving show. The first season was produced by Paramount Television, Paramount Pictures, whatever, Paramount, the TV arm of it, in cooperation with Canada, a production company in Canada. And so it was a really, really cool show that really could have gone somewhere. It had a diverse cast. It wasn't real heavy, but it was like environmentally conscious. They talked about the Native Americans. They were inclusive, but it wasn't like today. It was different. It wasn't beat you over the head with Marxism type inclusive. It was just a very nice show to watch. And they did inclusivity in a way that was actually like, there was no tension. They worked together. They weren't constantly bringing up history and racial tension and racially charged situations. They just acted like they were cool. And it was a really cool show to watch. A lot of fun. It was comfort viewing with diversity. They did diversity right. However, when season 2 came about, they made some sudden changes. It really made the fans mad. I mean, really made the fans mad. For starters, Norton Drake was the smart guy, black guy. He was the computer genius, and he was in a wheelchair. Colonel Ironhorse was the military guy. He was Native American. And those different perspectives made it so cool. And again, you didn't have the constant reminder that we're different races. We have history. It wasn't like that. It was just real cool. It was such a good show. Well, for season 2, Frank Mancuso Jr. got involved. Don't understand what that was about. The guy who did the Friday the 13th movies, okay. If you like slasher films, they're good films. Well made, But he started season 2 by totally changing everything about the show. Dr. Blackwood, the white guy, was like, didn't like weapons and stuff. Now all of a sudden he's this action star that's always toting a gun. Grew his beard out, looking kind of rough. The first episode of season 2, Norton Drake, the black dude in a wheelchair, gets shot like a stray dog. That's how he dies. And the Native American gets killed, cloned by the aliens, and turned into an infiltrator. And then he dies. And then they both get replaced by another white guy. And in later years, I heard stories about how, like, Catherine Disher and some of the other, whatever the guy's name, Dennis something, they from season 2, the season 2 cast, couldn't even go to the conventions anymore because the fans were so toxic about all the changes that were made. And that's not going from white to black, it's going from black to white. So it may be, if you take a big picture view, it may be that maybe it's not that Star Wars fans are toxic. It could be that when you set something up and you come up with a combination of things that works and it draws people in, and then you change it to something else, it's very jarring, especially if you're talking about people like me who have a little bit of autism, and we like TV, we like movies because it helps us to process thoughts and think about, contemplate different life lessons and just different ideas and stuff. And then we don't deal with change very well sometimes. And so you change things all of a sudden, and we're like, whoa, what are you doing? And we get mad. And I remember the day that happened, the day that TV show aired, because my mom would watch it with me every now and then. She got up after Colonel Iron Ores died. She turned that TV off. She said, well, we're not watching that anymore. And she walked away. And you're talking about people who didn't like the diversity being taken away from the show. So there's a lot of things that, if you take a big picture view, you'll find things aren't always what our initial reaction is in the immediate moment. Well, I can't believe this is happening. The media show, just even with political stuff like J6, it would be easy to believe the narrative on TV that there was this bunch of terrorists and it was an insurrection. But when you start looking around, my perspective is that there was a small group of people who wanted to stir things up, and then a whole bunch of other people that a lot of them didn't even know what was going on. And the fact that you had people telling people to go, telling them what to do, and you charge them with incitement, shows that the people who showed up there didn't actually intend to go. That's why they had to be told to go and to be incited. But I can't make a definitive statement about that because I haven't pored over the thousands of pictures and hours of footage. I mean, I'm just giving you my opinion based on what little bit I see. However, when it comes to toxic fandom, I've lived 42 years and I've seen different things happen, and I can use my historical perspective and experience to give you a slightly bigger picture view so that you can tell that, like, no, just because people don't like a show does not automatically mean that it's attached to whatever political narrative people are wanting to attach to it. It's not always about that. I will never touch Star Wars. They burnt me out on that after, I can tell you as a fan of the original films, the photorealistic effect, and yes, it was dated, but still the fact that things looked like they existed, was part of the experience. And then they started adding the CGI stuff, which within 5-10 years was already looking dated anyway, and it just makes it goofy. It ruins the more serious tone of the film. But if you don't look at it that way, you're not going to care, and you're not going to understand. And so I just leave it alone. I just don't even mess with it. I have a hard time even watching the originals anymore. I might watch them on VHS, but that's about it. But even then, I just try to stay away from it. And it's because we don't like it when you build something up and then just out of nowhere you change it. I'm still mad about Batman. Batman, if Michael Keaton had stuck with it for Batman Forever, then we'd have a trilogy, and that would be like cool. But the fact that they changed it to Val Kilmer, and then now it's not even the same, don't even feel like the same movie. It's like them other two movies. Batman Forever was cool for its own reasons, but it's not the same universe. It don't feel like the same thing. You changed it up. So your best bet, really, with regard to that, is to just do something original and leave it like it is and not try to, like, change things up to appeal to different audiences, because then nobody's going to want to watch it. So my definitive statement on Are Star Wars Fans Toxic? My definitive statement is they're not any more toxic than any other fandom for any other franchise. Nobody likes it when you make something and you say this is for you, and then you take it and change it and go, actually it's for someone else. And then you say, but why aren't these people still watching it? Well, you said it wasn't for us. You changed it. You made it into something else. It's not toxic, it's just human nature. That's the definitive statement.
Emma. Sweetie pie. Sweetie pie. Sweetie pie. Oh, little baby. Oh, little baby. Little baby.
Hello? Hey. What you doing? Hey, what's happening? I just wanted to call. See how you're doing. I'm at work. It is what it is. How about you? Oh, you know, just sitting around and thinking about my new brothers, bro. What in bloody blazes do you want? I just wanted to call and, you know, and connect and just, you know, say I love you, man. You know, what's up? You called to say you freaking love me. What are you, my mother? Well, I never had a brother before. For heaven's sake, can I just reach out and make a connection? You've got 7 brothers and 3 sisters. Not biological and not identical. You know, I'm just trying to reach out to my brothers and show them that I care. You know, can I do that? If you really want to show me you care, have dinner ready when I get home. Put it on the tray table in front of the TV and pour some red wine in my favorite pink glass. And get my foot massager out and turn the heat up, it's cold. I gotta go back to work. Today on Movie Talk, I want to talk about Thanksgiving movies. We are now in the November month, the harvest season, and to me, you know, I'm a fan of the holiday season. There's plenty of holidays throughout the year, but then there's the holiday season, you know, where you've got Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, the season of holidays. So we were in a discussion the other day, me and some people I know, about what is a Halloween film, what is a Christmas film, you know, why is Die Hard? Some people say it's a Christmas movie, some people say it's not. To me, if it takes place at Christmas, it's probably going to be a Christmas movie. I'm not going to argue with people. It is what it is. It's however you feel. But then the question was, what's a Thanksgiving movie? Because I brought that up. You know, well, like a Halloween film would be Space Invaders, Halloween, stuff that takes place at Halloween. You know, the Christopher Lloyd film, When Good Ghouls Go Bad, which is a great film, by the way. But to me, and a lot of people won't get that. They'll be like, if you want to watch a film, just go watch it. To some degree, yeah, but people like me, I get different feelings. You know, I get into October and I want to watch Blair Witch 2, the complete and total masterpiece that is the sequel to the Blair Witch movie. Somebody's going to hate me for that. But, you know, that's just how I am. Different seasons make me feel different ways. Now, if I was ruler of the world, we would work till we drop from like mid-January to the end of September, and then October, November, December would just be one big party. I feel like this is the time of the year to settle down. It gets a little cold if you're, north of the equator. It gets a little cold. We start to hang out more inside. We're around other people. We get sick more often because we're closer and spreading our stuff around. But no, there are some, to me, when November comes around, there's something about that time of the year. It's, we harvest. Our hard work throughout the year should come before you should begin to enjoy some of the fruits of your labor. And there's something about November that to me just feels like that's when you sit down, you have fun, you relax, you feast. That's what November is for. It's the harvest month. If you got work to do, like you live on a farm and you're harvesting during the month of November, then obviously you got to do that. But to me, that's the time of year to sit down and relax. And watching films is one of my favorite things. It's if you're a movie watcher, what does it for you for November, Thanksgiving? What's a Thanksgiving movie? Well, to me, because it's a time to relax, I think of like fun stuff that's not too heavy, too deep, but also like films that have snow, but it's not Christmas. One of my favorites is Where Eagles Dare. I like to make that recommendation. It's a PG. I don't think there's anything too awfully bad in it. By today's standard, it's not an action-packed movie, where you're just boom, 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 one after the other. But it's got some cool explosions. It's got a great story. They've got to go into the Schloss Adler, or whatever it's called, the Eagle's Nest. And it's this impenetrable fortress. And they get in there. And they rescue their guy, they plant their bombs, and then there's this, to me, the grand finale pays off when you get to see everything blow up. I'm an 80s kid. I like to see it blow up at the end, It's got Clint Eastwood and Richard Burton, two great actors. Mary Ure, she's a great actress. And it's in the snow. When I was a kid, me and my brother, between that and The Empire Strikes Back, the original Empire Strikes Back, before George Lucas added all the goofy cartoon stuff, we would go out in the snow because you could, the snow was soft, so you could take a fall, and we would just play Army. Pow, whoa, and you could land in the snow and it wouldn't hurt, especially if you had your snowsuit on. So, we just had so much fun doing that. It wasn't even about winning or losing. We would just pretend like we were being shot, and then we would be a different character, and we'd go out and get somebody else, and then they'd get you, something blowing up. That was a lot of fun. So, and I guess in a way it takes me back to being a kid too. It brings that spirit out. It's fun. It's interesting, but it's not heavy. Another example would be, the Three Stooges, or I grew up, my dad introduced me and my siblings to Laurel and Hardy, and I've been on it ever since. So I've got the Essential Collection DVD. I've also got the Blu-ray that they brought out a little while ago, a couple years ago, year or 2 years, something like that. Looks beautiful. So, like the old Batman TV show and the movie from '66. The older James Bond films, Tron Legacy, Rocky. I like to watch the Rocky films in November. Maybe every other year. I try to change it up. But one, I love the old Doctor Who series, the classic. And there's something that includes the old Doctor Who movies that are an abomination, but they're still kind of interesting to watch. You have to watch them if you're into the show at all. They had nothing to do with the TV show. It's like a big studio pirated the show and made their own movies or something stupid, but it's interesting. But there's something about, to me, something that makes me feel relaxed, even as a kid, like stuff that it's good enough that it tells its story and the story is good, but it doesn't do all the heavy lifting for you. So you still have to use your imagination. And every now and then, not every single year, but once in a while, I like to watch that very first Doctor Who episode that aired the day John F. Kennedy got shot. An Unearthly Child, and then, of course, the Daleks. There's something about the sort of scaled down, quaint, low budget films in general, if they're done well, I think almost are more fun to watch than big budget films. I like something that allows you space to use your imagination on stuff. So the older Doctor Who episodes, and then of course these are the same movie, sort of. They're taken from the same play or book or something. Babes in Toyland. This was called Babes in Toyland, but then retitled March of the Wooden Soldiers. This is a Thanksgiving film. This is a Christmas movie. And it's all about execution. Christmas is relaxing too, but it does come with the message of giving and salvation, the Messiah, Santa Claus, doing things for other people. So there's kind of a message there. So it's not quite as light as Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving to me is just fun. You know, it's enjoyment. Being grateful. Being grateful is a good thing. I like to be grateful for the things we have. I don't want to talk about it too much. I'll save that for my Thanksgiving episode. But anyway, that's what I would say, what I would call a Thanksgiving movie is just something fun that is relaxing to watch, and you use your imagination, and it's not too heavy. You know, and then if it's got snow in it, Batman Returns, I would prefer to do that as a Thanksgiving film. I think you could probably throw Batman and Batman Returns in there. You know, you could do that one in October too, the first Batman, 89. Oh, whatever. But anyway, leave a comment down in the comments section and tell me what you think a Thanksgiving movie is. Because everybody's opinion's different. Uh-oh. Hey, who this? Hey, Rocco.
Hey, Chris O, how you doing, my main man?
Oh, just hanging out and thinking about my new brothers.
Oh, that's right. You ain't never had a significant brother before, right?
Nah. What you doing?
Just working.
Where you work at?
Well, I started my own business. It's called Beat Somebody Up for That Productions.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. BSUFD. Be stuffed. Or rather, don't be soft, or you get beat up for that.
That's cool. So what do you do exactly?
Well, I beat people up for that, and for this, and for whatever else. You got a problem? Somebody steal your car? Somebody owe you money? Somebody call you dirty names in front of your kids? Forget about it. Give me a call. I'll beat somebody up for that.
Huh. That's a unique idea.
Yep. But now listen. I'm a man of principle. I go to church every now and then. I only beat somebody up for that if I think they're capable of learning from their mistakes.
Oh. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, if I don't think somebody's capable, I just murder them. You know, sometimes you gotta just move on and write it off your taxes.
Wow. That's crazy.
But now look, since you my brother, I'll beat anybody you need up for that for free. Capiche?
Thanks, man. That is so cool.
Alright, I'll catch you later. Chris O, I gotta beat this guy up for that. Hey, yo, Egghead, get over here.
Today on A Word of Encouragement, I want to talk about strategy. There's a verse in the Bible Matthew 10, chapter 10, verse 16. Jesus says to his disciples, "Behold, I am sending you like sheep in the midst of wolves. So be shrewd as serpents and simple as doves." Now, other translations, the way I heard it all my life was to be wise as a serpent, but innocent as a dove, or innocent as a lamb. And so, there's a strategy that I think a lot of people miss out on because they don't think about that. You know, there's a lot here. And so sometimes you just get to where it's hard to recall everything. My memory recall is not the greatest. I usually have to look stuff up. But I do remember principles with practice. And I think practice is the most important aspect, or at least one of the most important aspects to living an effective life. Is you know what your principles are, you practice them. You do things to test your mind. So a lot of people focus on the innocence too much. And they just want to, I just would never think that. I would never go there. I would never. They think that innocence is staying away from things. Innocence, what he's talking about, I'm sending you out among wolves. Innocence is the ability to be in the world and not be pulled down from it. Now, of course, it's good to stay away from things that might be a weakness to you, but if everything's a weakness to you, you might have a problem. So, we ought to be able to be in at least some situations without always being pulled into it, because when you become a Christian, and you have that real conversion, there's some things that you should no longer want to do unless there's something wrong with you. And so, we're living in a time now where people will talk about how we're at war. Well, we got, the establishment or the social movements or things, and we got to fight. We got to fight, I heard that all through growing up. We got to fight the powers, and we got to fight the social movements that are, causing different problems. But what does that mean? And you get your people who are your 2A enthusiasts. That's right, we got to fight. But you got to be careful. And I don't just mean legal trouble. I mean, even to win, you have to have some strategy. Everything, just because you're fighting a war, doesn't mean everything is about force. There's a lot of different ways to fight. There's a lot of different ways to deal with situations. Growing up in the 80s and early 90s, as a kid, I was an 80s child and a 90s teenager. And so many times we just talked about fighting, me and other boys, we're going to fight it out, man. Might makes right, which is a stupid saying because I can be wrong and still stronger than you. I mean, that might don't prove nothing but that you got might. So, but you can defeat a lot of enemies with this. So I'd like to share a story with you. Because I want people who watch my show and who are out there fighting the good fight. We are at war. We're in an ideological war right now, with a lot of different worldviews that want to be the dominant worldview. They want to be considered normal, and everybody else is wrong. And I don't always agree 100% with anybody, so we have to. But there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. So there's an old story that someone read to me as a child. I believe it's Chinese, and I could swear to you that they had it on Reading Rainbow, but I've looked and looked and cannot find this book. So if you know what book this is, let me know in the comment section. But there's a tale about an old Chinese village where this guy lived, and he went to market, and while he was at market, he happened to overhear two people discussing a plan to assassinate the emperor. And he heard that. And it bothered him because the emperor was always good to his people, to his village, and they loved the emperor. And so he thought, man, I got to tell the emperor about this. So he goes to the castle where the emperor lives. He gets to the front gate, and he tells the soldier, who's the guard at the gate, and he says, hey, I got a message for the emperor. And the guard says, well, you tell me, and I'll decide if it needs to go in. And he goes, well, yeah, I was in the marketplace and I overheard a plot to assassinate the emperor. The guard, when he hears this, he's like, man, this is worth some money. I'm going to get this money. So he says, why don't you tell me the plot and I'll tell the emperor, and then we'll make sure it doesn't happen. And if it's true, then we'll catch the guy, and you will rest knowing that you were a good citizen. But the man from the village says, I know better, because you don't know who's in on it. So he's like, I need to deliver this myself. And so the guard says, I'll tell you what, I'll let you in, but you gotta put your stamp on this paper and make an oath that I will get 1/3 of whatever you get if the emperor, if you save his life and he gives you a reward. So the guy stamps his mark on the paper and says, okay, fine. So he walks through the gate and he gets to a second gate. And the guard does the exact same thing. He says, okay, I'll let you in, but you have to sign your mark here saying that you'll give me 1/3 of whatever the emperor gives you as a reward for saving his life. So then he sees a third gate. When he sees the third gate, and that's the final gate, the man from the village starts to realize they got a scam running, because they know there's 3 guards and they each ask for 1/3, which means I'm not going to get nothing out of this. But he was doing it because he loved the emperor. But he sees the guards they're running a scam, So he puts his mark on the paper and agrees, makes an oath. So all 3 guards now, he's guaranteed them, he's pledged that if he gets a reward from the emperor, that he's going to give 1/3 of his reward to all 3 of the guards. So he goes in there, he tells the emperor, oh, I heard a plot to assassinate you. And the emperor is like, okay, well, we'll check it out. So about an hour later, his guards, his soldiers come back and are like, hey, it was right. We caught the guys right here. We got the plan wrote down on paper and everything, parchment, whatever. And so the emperor is like, oh, you have saved my life and you've been a loyal subject to whatever you want. And you can have it. And the guy says, oh, I don't, we love you in our village. We just glad that you're alive. We love our emperor. And the emperor says, no, I got to give you something. You saved my life. You don't understand. I got to give you something. So the guy goes, well, there is one thing you could give me. I would like 99 blows with the hard stick. And the emperor's like, what? Yes, he's like, you want to be hit 99 times with a hard wooden stick. That's the reward you want. He says, yes. The emperor says, okay, dude, whatever you want, I guess. It's your life, whatever. So the guard goes and grabs a big stick. He brings it out, the soldier. He brings it out there. He's getting ready to hit him, and the man from village says, oh, by the way, I made a pact, a promise, that these 3 out here would get 1/3 of whatever I got from you. Well, that actually made the king mad, because they were playing around with information that could have saved his life. So he goes, you know what? I think that's a real good idea. So he goes out there and gets all 3 of his guards up, and all 3 of them get 33 blows with that hard stick. And the moral of the story is, there's more than one way to skin a cat. That's not a Chinese food reference. I didn't bring up cats for that reason. I love Chinese. I eat Chinese food. But it's a great story. And what I mean is basically, strategy. There's many different ways. It's not, the man did not have the force to defeat those guards and force his way in there. But he did have the mind to fight back through other means. And that's, through times like right now, that's how we have to think. You got to think strategically. You can't think about weapons and force and war. We're just not in that. This ain't World War II anymore. Society's going crazy with a lot of different worldviews. You got to have discussions. Tell people why you don't agree with them. Explain why they're wrong. Don't just get mad and scream insults and fight in the streets. There's ways to deal with things through other methods without force and violence. But that's on you in every situation. Pray to be shrewd as a snake, but innocent as a dove, innocent as a lamb. Stay innocent. You can innocently do things that will accomplish what you want, but be wise as a serpent. That's the kind of wisdom. That's how we have to approach the situations we're in right now in our society and in our world. So stay strong, keep it positive, and keep moving forward. Hey, thank you for watching. That's it for ToneyTV. Like I said, I try to just take it up a notch. Try to make it nice. So come back. I'm trying to drop these shows on Tuesday. Make it a Tuesday TV. ToneyTV on Tuesday. I didn't even think about that. That's pretty good. So thank you all for watching. Stay encouraged. Keep moving forward. Keep doing good things in the world. And be a good example to young people, especially young kids. Be a good example. They're always watching. Teach them. The holidays are for them as much as anybody else. To teach them the right lessons and values and morals and ideas and stuff. So be good. Do good in the world. Keep moving forward. Peace and love. I'll see you next time.